Before the world was broken, it was a song. There was one language, one set of symbols, and one shared dream. When a father spoke to his son, the meaning didn't just hit the ear, it lived in the blood. We didn't need to explain ourselves. Water was the cool rush in the throat. Stone was the unyielding weight in the palm. Love was the literal heat in the chest. We moved together, a single tide of humanity flowing toward the east, following the sun's slow arc across a young sky. We found the plain of Shinar, a flat, endless canvas of dust and gold, stretching until the edges of the earth melted into the horizon. And there we stopped. We were tired of being small. The king, Nimrod, the hunter, the giant, stood in the center of the camp. He was a man carved from the very obsidian he hunted. He didn't look at the horizon like the rest of us, seeking water or grazing land. He looked up. He told us that as long as we stayed on the ground, we were prey. We were prey for the floods that had drowned our ancestors, turning their stories into silt. We were prey for the lions, prey for the winter, and prey for a God who kept his secrets behind the veiled clouds. "Come," he said, and his voice was the voice of all of us, a resonant frequency that vibrated in our marrow. "Let us build a city, and let us build a tower whose top may reach into the heavens. Let us make a name for ourselves. If we are high enough, the water cannot reach us. If we are high enough, the darkness cannot find us. Let us build lest we be scattered and forgotten, like the dust we walk upon." Stone was heavy, stubborn, and born of the earth's slow cooling. We wanted something of our own. We made our own bones for the tower. We gathered the clay of the riverbeds and shaped it into perfect, uniform rectangles. We burned the clay in the great kilns until it was hard as iron and red as a heartbeat. We used bitumen for mortar, that thick, black, primordial blood of the earth that smelled of deep secrets and ancient fires. The first year was a jubilee. We were out climbing the trees. The second year, we were out climbing the eagles. By the fifth year, the tower was no longer a building. It was a world. It was a vertical civilization. There were children born on the 50th level who had never touched the grass, whose only concept of the earth was a distant, hazy green blur miles below. There were markets on the 70th level, schools on the 85th. There were old men who died on the 100th level, their bodies carried down for days in a slow, somber procession just to reach a grave in the dirt. The higher we went, the more the air changed. It became thin and cold, like the edge of a ritual knife. It tasted of ice and ozone. He told us that the groaning of the foundation, the deep, tectonic shriek that kept us awake at night, was just the earth complaining that we were leaving it behind. "Do you feel it?" he would whisper, his hand pressing against a cooling brick. "The weight of the sky is getting lighter. We are piercing the skin of the firmament. We are almost there. We are almost gods." But we weren't gods. We were exhausted. We were building a monument to ourselves, but we were losing our humanity in the masonry. We stopped talking about the harvest. We stopped talking about the river. We stopped singing the songs of the ground. Our vocabulary shrank until we only had words for upward. We only talked about the next cubit, the next kiln load, the next inch of sky. We had traded the breadth of the world for the height of a pillar. Then came the day we reached the clouds. It wasn't like the stories we told our children. It wasn't soft or golden. It was a gray, choking fog that turned our hair white with dampness and made the bricks slippery with moisture. We couldn't see the ground anymore. Shinar was gone. The Tigris was gone. The world was gone. There was only the brick beneath our feet and the gray swirling void around us. Nimrod stood at the highest ledge, a silhouette against the blinding white mist. He took a golden hammer, a tool that had never seen a day of real labor, and struck the air itself, as if trying to shatter the very atmosphere. "Answer us!" he screamed, his voice cracking against the pressure of the height. "We have arrived. We have built the bridge. We have climbed out of the mud. Is there no one here to meet us? Is the throne empty?" The silence that followed was not empty. It was heavy. It was a silence that felt like a colossal hand pressing down on the top of the tower, a weight that threatened to drive the whole structure back into the crust of the earth. Down in the depths of the scaffolding, a worker dropped a trowel. It fell into the mist and didn't make a sound. A woman tried to call out to her husband to warn him of a loose plank, but her breath hitched in her throat. Something was moving through the air, not a wind, but a shift in the way the universe held itself together, a reconfiguration of reality. The divine did not strike us with lightning. He did not knock the tower down with a finger. That would have been too simple. That would have left our minds intact. Instead, he did something much more surgical, much more permanent. He unraveled the silver thread. The first sign was a question that became a wall. A master mason, a man who had worked the bitumen for 40 years, turned to his apprentice and said the simplest thing, "Pass me the level." But the apprentice didn't move. He didn't even flinch. He looked at the mason with a face full of a horror so deep it looked like madness. To the apprentice, the mason hadn't spoken words. He had made the sound of a grinding stone, a guttural, terrifying noise that held no meaning. "What did you say?" the apprentice asked. But to the mason, the apprentice's voice sounded like the frantic chirping of 1,000 crickets. It was a high, senseless whistling that hurt his ears. The panic spread like a fire through a dry forest, leaping from level to level. On the 100th level, on the 50th, in the crowded markets at the base, the song of humanity snapped. It didn't just break, it shattered into a million jagged shards. "Where is my son?" a mother cried, but her neighbor heard only the whistling of a winter wind. "The tower is falling," a guard shouted, but his warning sounded to the crowd like the clashing of bronze plates in a kitchen. I remember looking at my own brother. I knew the shape of his nose. I knew the scar on his cheek from a childhood fall. I knew his soul. But when he opened his mouth to speak to me, he was a stranger from a land that didn't exist. I couldn't find him behind his eyes. I reached for his hand, but he pulled away, terrified by the noises I was making, his mouth working to produce sounds that were wet, alien, and sharp. The unified mind of Shinar was gone. We were no longer a body. We were a crowd of lonely ghosts, trapped in the dark cells of our own skulls. We were screaming at each other, pleading for understanding. But the harder we screamed, the more the words felt like jagged glass, cutting our throats and wounding the air. Nimrod stood at the very top, roaring in a language that no one, not even he, could decipher. He was the king of a mountain of noise. He was the master of a million solitudes. You cannot build a mountain when you cannot agree on what a stone is. You cannot reach for heaven when you cannot even reach your neighbor. We left. We didn't plan the exodus. We were simply pushed away by the sheer, unbearable weight of our isolation. Groups of people who found they made similar sounds, who found a strange, accidental harmony in their new phonetics, huddled together. Those who spoke in soft, fluid tones moved toward the rivers and the damp places. Those whose words were sharp, clicking, and harsh moved toward the high mountains. Those whose speech was rhythmic and slow followed the sun into the deep deserts. We abandoned the tower to the wind. The bitumen, once our black pride, cracked under the sun. The bricks, so carefully burned in the fires of our ambition, began to crumble back into the dust of Shinar. We are the children of that scattering. Every word we speak today is a fragment of that original broken mirror. When we study a new tongue, when we struggle to translate a poem, when we sit in the heavy silence with a stranger, we are feeling the ghost of the tower. We are reaching across the void that was created in that single, silent moment of divine intervention. We built it to make a name for ourselves. We built it because we were afraid of being alone in the vastness of the world. And the irony, the great echoing joke of history, is that in trying to be one, we found a deeper loneliness than we ever could have imagined. But perhaps there is a mercy in it. The tower was too small for us. It was a prison of red brick and black tar. If we had reached the top, we would have had nowhere left to go. Now the world is our language, but a story that is finally big enough and diverse enough and loud enough to reach the heavens. And the world is finally wide enough to get lost in. If you want more deep dives like this, cinematic Bible stories, powerful scripture videos, and biblical inspiring messages, make sure you like this video, subscribe, and comment what topic you'd like me to touch on next. Your engagement helps this channel grow, and it tells YouTube to show this to more people.